Okay, so this is probably going to be another short video. A few years ago, this crude little video game was released that allowed you to punch the ever-living shit out of Gamergate star and professional victim Anita Sarkeesian, a woman who stole thousands of dollars from donators to make a video series about how all video games are sexist and terrible. Yet not only made, like 3 episodes, but those episodes were based on ancient tropes from the 80s and were supported by video from Let's Players unaffiliated with Anita. In other words, it was a massive scam perpetuated by someone whose master's thesis is riddled with errors, including grammatical ones, and provides barely any citation. Yes, I have read Anita Sarkeesian's master's thesis, and am proud to say that it sincerely and truly reads like undergrad work at best. Truly, Anita, I know you never debate anyone because you are an ignorant slut who knows literally next to nothing about the topics you bitch about, but I would love to go through a little graduate level review of your thesis with you. So please, as someone erudite in media psychology, fight me. Anyway, my point is there was this little flash game that allowed you to beat up Anita. I guess I thought it was funny. It's obviously not real violence and in no way was a call for real violence. It was just a stupid little flash game for people to take the piss out of Anita and her horrifically unsourced, uncited, and unscientific claims regarding video games and video game culture. If I have not made myself completely clear on my stance towards violence in my previous videos, I am, alas, a limp-wristed pacifist who believes all forms of violence to be the anathema to civilized society. Violence, in my opinion, is but a last resort, or ethically only acceptable in cases of self-defense. However, that doesn't mean I can't also find violence hilarious. I am what I can only describe as a connoisseur of horror films. I love me a good gore fest. But the difference is that media violence is in no way related to action or behavior. Let me explain as quickly as possible because this kind of requires an entire video to cover properly. Of the thousands, and there are thousands, of studies that have been conducted on media violence and influence on human behavior, there has never been a causal link ever identified between playing or viewing a violent piece of media and enacting violent behaviors. There is a link between violent media and temporary acts of aggression. It's usually the result of something called excitation transfer. I've got a video in the works to explain this further. But basically, despite decades of research of all the people positing video games cause violence, no one has been able to prove a causal association between violent media consumption and actual violent behavior. Maybe that could be because there isn't any. Aggression, sure, but the data indicate that even that is temporary, and that is consistent with excitation transfer theory. There is zero evidence that even massive violent media consumption leads to violence. As such, while I inherently believe, as a part of free speech, the ability to make games like this should be covered, I also feel I need to explicate just how violence in a video game is nowhere correlated to real violence, so there is no real problem here. However, many people choose to throw data and hard research into the garbage as they persecuted the game and its creator. They accused the game of being the equivalent of harassment against Anita, even though it was quickly removed from Newgrounds shortly after being uploaded. There's a bunch of non sequiturs there. First of all, you can't harass someone without ever having been in contact with them. You could defame them, sure, but harass? No, that's not harassment. The creator of the game, Bendelin Spur, was attacked for the game on various media outlets, from Twitter to blogs and so on. He was accused of the usual misogyny, sexism, and while I can't say I agree with what he had on his Steam profile at the creation of the game, it is ultimately just a game. It's ultimately just his freedom of expression. I pretty much think you can make a game about anything you want, yet while Mike Tyson's Punch-Out has never offended anyone as far as I know, this game was apparently a hate crime. By the way, it wasn't even the first punching game that Spur had made. He had previously made an almost identical game where you punch out the infamous anti-video game activist and lawyer Jack Thompson, which I'm sure only Thompson himself found offensive. So clearly we have a video game enthusiast who doesn't approve of any public figure talking trash about his hobby without reason. Yet apparently this is only a problem when the target is a woman, as Spur said. While Spur merely had his game removed from Newgrounds, Gregory Elliott stood up for Spur against some of the raging feminists on Twitter who subsequently filed a lawsuit against Elliott, accusing him of criminal harassment. Beyond just that, some feminists found his artwork at a coffee shop and threw their drinks at it. Charming. The instigator in this case was a right cunt named Stephanie Guthrie, as well as her friend Paisley Ray, who was in deep with the Toronto Police Department apparently. Both of these ladies, see I use a nice term, took this guy Elliot to court over the tweets he sent them, in part defending Spur's game. The court case wasn't resolved until this year, where he was found not guilty after 3 years of being barred from using the internet. Holy gods, I would have just ended myself. Basically, these insane feminists claimed that his tweets were an indication that he was going to physically assault them. Yet astoundingly, even the cucked Canadian court thought that was bullshit. In the end, it was 2 cunts who wanted to make free speech illegal and got shut down. If only such a thing were to remain the norm, for I fear it is quickly changing to be feels are greater than your reals. And as a last note on this, the judge in this case called Elliot's views wrong and offensive, yet still upheld his right to say them, which honestly astounded me. Anyway, so that little background for you was just a few years ago. Yet what happened recently? Oh, well, a Beat Up a Nazi game was released, so you too can punch Milo Yiannopoulos, a total Nazi who is actually not a Nazi, but in reality a gay ethnic Jew who loves big black dick. You can also punch Richard Spencer, a white nationalist, in the face, who to this day has strangely yet to engage in violence against anyone who so desperately want to enact violence against him. Yet look at the kind of sites talking about it. Do you see any of the mainstream media sites? Oh, of course not. I see Breitbart, Fox, and InfoWars, yet no mention from the mainstream media at all. No outrage, nothing. Could it be because it's fine to make a shitty little game of you punching the shit out of a gay man if he's a conservative, but not fine if you make a punching game to beat the shit out of a woman for being a lying con artist? That's nice. Thanks for at least showing your biases, mainstream media. Why did someone go to court over this stupid Anita game? And yet now let's all just accept that no one will ever be called out over this Milo game outside of right-wing pundits. That's nice and fair, yeah? So here's my opinion. Both video games should be allowed to exist. That's freedom of speech, that's freedom of expression. What I find bizarre is the glorification of this Milo beating game while it's being ignored by the MSM, when in the past, people were castigated and even taken to court for defending the right to push a button in order to beat up a digital version of an obnoxious feminist. If we cannot see the disparity here at this point, then we are blind. It is unbelievable what the mainstream left will do to defend and cover up in order to protect a narrative of being peaceful and loving, all while they're burning down buildings, looting businesses in protest. I don't know what more I can say, other than that the blatant hypocrisy of the left has become overwhelmingly evident, and this charade is likely soon to close its curtains. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm Aiden Paladin, Altana Volt.